All right. Welcome, everybody, to tonight's broadcast. My name is Denskill. This is my second live stream broadcast, and I'd like to welcome everybody to the very second one here. I've decided to take a number two and put up another one after the success of the last one. So, welcome once again. For viewers of my regular YouTube channel, you might remember an episode where I talked about it was called "Are You Pedal Bored?" and it was talking about a new pedal board that I had come up with, sort of a tinier one. And there was another video that I made called, geez, what was it? How I survived gas, gear acquisition syndrome. So that's kind of going to be a little bit of the topic tonight that we'll cover. And please feel free to jump in with any comments or questions in the comments there. I'll be keeping an eye on that as we move along. So, related to my channel and some of the previous info and videos that I've presented on it, I've talked mostly about my guitars and not so much about my amps, but and a little bit about my pedals, or pedals, as they say in England on that pedal show, which my wife always laughs at. So tonight's episode, I'm going to run through a bit of my signal chain in my pedal boards. I've made some big changes recently to my pedal boards. I've been downsizing, and some of my needs have changed as far as pedals. So I'll be covering that and basically walking you through my signal chain and kind of the mentality, the thought process behind building my current arsenal of pedals. Um, so yeah, we'll go in depth. And again, if you've got any questions, please feel free to drop me a comment. I guess before we get into our little deep dive, if you're liking what you're seeing on the channel, or if you want to support me and the channel's success here, right now, the current way to do that is to purchase my album called Stringmanship. It's available exclusively on Bandcamp for $5 whole, which is like a sort of like a nice coffee and a half from Starbucks. Um, so yeah, I don't have a Patreon or any of that stuff. I do this YouTube thing just for the enjoyment of it and for the camaraderie and fellowship. Another quick thing is all the equipment that you'll see here is stuff that I bought for, or sorry, that I bought and paid for. I'm not sponsored or anything like that, and some of the I'll share some of the stories about my acquisitions on some of these pedals and sort of where I'm at with my collection. So that being said, just a little bit of background. Basically, my pedals and my sound outside of the amp, like everything between the amp and the guitar, really is based on reasons of practicality. In other words, it depends on what I'm playing and what I'm going to be using that particular effect and pedal for. And the way I kind of think about it is in a few different arenas. One being sort of the creative process, like writing, generating sounds, just getting cool sounds out of my instrument. So sort of the inspirational, motivational thing is, well, sometimes is what helps me gravitate towards a pedal. Um, another another avenue or another dimension or aspect is, you know, what am I playing in terms of live, or you know, am I going to be taking it on a stage? So in other words, like, what physical requirements do I have? Is there, does it have to be a certain size? Am I going to be using it at rehearsal studios or in the studio? So more physical constraints, that kind of thing. And with that, if I'm playing in a cover band, You know, I'm going to need something that can play all kinds of different sounds and all that. So I need some versatility out of a pedal or an effect, or if it's, you know, if it's a pedal for a specific sound, right? It gives me an array of sounds. I might think about getting something like that. But in general, in hammering out my pedal needs, there's been a few changes recently, and in hammering out those needs, I've kind of tabled it or sort of set my sound up for kind of three main pedal boards and sort of a fourth, which I'll explain. And reason for that is because I kind of wanted to, like, I kind of know after some years of playing and experience what it is that I look for in pedal boards. So I like, you know, a couple gain stages. I like, you know, delay and a reverb kind of thing going on it. And definitely some sort of modulation or multi-effects modulation. So that's a pattern that you'll see repeated throughout my boards. The idea being is that hopefully they're somewhat interchangeable in terms of usage, but you know, they each have their own constraints depending on what I was talking about before, like whether I want to use it at just, you know, recording, or if I want to take it to a stage. So we've got one viewer so far. Thanks for joining us tonight. And I'm going to get started with sort of the most recent build that I've put together here. It's my biggest board. Now I'll pull it up here so you guys can see it. And it's I've had it a while, but it's just recently been assembled towards this configuration. So shout out to Paul. How you doing, buddy? So, without further ado, and I'm going to go in order from biggest to smallest boards. And again, just a small bit of background too. This is after a recent downsizing where I am starting cover band up again and getting involved with certain other kinds of projects, recording projects that will need a certain set of sounds. So that's really been the main driver of these pedal board configurations and changes. So I have downsized. I actually used to have 4 pedal boards plus this extra thing, this line. Well, I'll show you guys. This here is my HX effects. I'm going to get into more details on it, but I used to have 4 pedal boards plus this guy, and that was as my needs have changed. I found that to be a little bit of overkill, kind of. So anyway, yeah, so without further ado, I'm just going to grab one of my boards here, and like I said, I'll start from biggest to smallest and kind of walk you through it. All right, hopefully I don't knock anything over, but give me a sec to turn this guy around so you can see it. Okay, I've got a loose pedal on here, so hopefully it doesn't go flying into the atmosphere somewhere somehow. There we go. Okay, so here it is. It's pretty massive, as you can see. This would be one of the old school pedal train 2. And let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 pedals. You'll see me kind of gripping for dear life onto this little mini wah. This isn't actually, I removed this from the board to use it because I just kind of like it on a flat surface, as opposed to being on the board. It just makes your ankle kind of go a little, you know, a little too extreme of an angle to get a nice wah type sound. But yeah, here's just another little quick look at it. So this board is definitely my craziest one. I call it the kitchen sink board. Its nickname is Big Tex, because yeah, it's about that big and it's got a lot of stuff on it. But two different power supplies on it as well to fuel all the stuff. I could get away with one, but I like having two just in case as a backup. And effects like this, the Eventide H9 are pretty power hungry. So yeah, so let me see if I can get this on camera and still walk you through it. So essentially my guitar signal comes in and it goes into this tuner here. That's just a Polytune from TC Electronics. Out of there, I take it down right to the wah pedal, which is right here. And from there, I go into the MXR Super Comp. Love this compressor pedal. It is like really um, potent, we'll call it. It's got a really nice uh, compressory sound. You know, it definitely colors, I think, the tone and adds something to it. But just it gives me that really cool sort of 80s compressor tone that I'm a big fan of. So I really like that. From there, the signal goes from the MXR Super Comp into my gain stages. And like I said, this board is the big daddy and pretty complicated. So I've got 4 different gain stages on here. The first one being the Earthquaker Devices Hoof Reaper. Second one being the Friedman Dirty Shirley. Um, Third one being the Tumnus here. I can get that on the camera. Fourth one, hopefully, is, let me see if I can get it to show up here. Yeah, fourth one is my Timmy, right? So 4 gain stages on this puppy. Now that's just based on pedals. Of course, if you mix and match your pedals and gain stages, you know, there's a ton of different options in there. But these are all my favorite sort of categories of drive pedal. So in my the way I prefer my topology, to use fancy words, is I really like fuzz. Fuzz is an integral part of a lot of cover songs, and I just love it. The Hoof Reaper has got 2 types of fuzzes in it, plus an octave up, which makes it just a killer pedal. So I really love the Hoof Reaper, and I've got it sort of up near the front of the chain. You know, I'm thinking about maybe sometimes having it first, just because a lot of fuzz pedals do well up early in the chain, and that's kind of my justification for having the wah and the compressor up there as well, because I want a nice compressed signal going through my next stage of pedals. So from the Hoof Reaper, from Earthquaker Devices, it goes into the Friedman Dirty Shirley, that black pedal in the bottom row there. And that's, I guess you might want to, you can consider that sort of like an amp in a box type pedal. It's really killer for that kind of almost like Marshall Lee JCM 800 hot rodded type sound. So I love it for that kind of hard rocking 80s shreddy tone. It's really cool, and the controls on it are super powerful, and yeah, it just sounds great. I've had that pedal a long time. So running next to the Dirty Shirley pedal over here, and continuing next is the Wampler Tumnus. Um, Really, I just use that as a bit of just a boost, but with just a touch of hair on it. Really love the character and tone and sort of the nose that it puts on my signal, especially when playing leads. So yeah, and Paul's noting that you can't go wrong with Friedman. I mean, yeah, their pedals are great. Their amps are awesome. I've tried a bunch of their pedals, like the BEOD one, and that's just a killer pedal. And Guitar Hack has I've played his Runt 20 amp and or heard it anyway, and messed around actually a little bit with it, and it's pretty killer. Um, so yeah, so getting back to the Wampler Tumnus there, yeah, I love using that pedal to kind of, you know, to sort of boost the Timmy, which is next, and sometimes to run the fuzzes or the Dirty Shirty. That's another thing. The Dirty Shirley pedal. I love the sound of that through the Tumnus as well. You just get this really singing, cool tone. So next gain stage I've got on here is the Timmy pedal. It's an old school one, an actual Timmy from Paul Cochran made back in the day. And I got that from a friend of mine a few years ago. So it's a pretty killer killer pedal. I've got the new version on it on another pedal board, which we'll see later. So that's basically the bottom row of this board. So I've got, like I said, 4 different gain pedals and a compressor and a tuner so far, and that right there is covers a lot of ground, but it gets juicier next as my signal comes up into the Strymon Mobius. Oh, I'm sorry, just before I move on, this thing under the tuner is sitting on up here, up here. This is another power supply that I've got mounted on top there, that the tuner is sitting on. And I hope the wah pedal sticks around here and doesn't go flying somewhere. Anyway, so yeah, I've got the Strymon Mobius, the blue monstrosity there, which is maybe for those unfamiliar, is like a multi-effects super engine supercomputer. It's one of the most acclaimed on the market, and it's freaking expensive, but I think it's worth it. It sounds really, really freaking cool. As far as effects on it, it's got like sort of a formant filter, vintage trim, a pattern trim. Pattern trim is cool because you can get this really sort of square wave, or really like reminds me of the Boss slicer type effect. Um, it has an auto swell, which, to be honest, I hardly ever use auto swell for anything. But I kind of just rely on my volume control on my guitar, or volume pedal if I'm hurting. And anyway, it's got Destroyer, which is an effect name, the Destroyer, which is like a bit crusher. So you get some really cool digital glitchy. Sounds like your guitar is getting crushed by a computerized blender. It's damn cool. It's got something called the Quadratune, which I liken to sort of sounds like your guitar is being played through like a scratchy vinyl record. It's a filter type effect, but the only one that I've heard that does something similar or something in that ballpark is the Chase Bliss Warped Vinyl. So Strymon has their version here in the Mobius. Um, Moving on, it's got just some more typical type effects like a chorus, flanger, rotary vibe, phaser, and another type of filter, like sort of envelope filter is what I would consider this. So a large number of really great sounding effects with tons of parameters that you can use and manipulate. I like that it has mostly knobs. Like it can get deep, and there is software you can use to edit this one. Uh, but it's, as far as multi effects, it's killer. Even though it's got three buttons on it, though, the one limitation is that you can only run one effect at a time. But I can have a bank of 2 here, and then I can bank up or bank down by pressing, like using presets for different settings, for different combinations of the 2 here knobs. So, for example, you could have like a chorus and a flange. And on your next setting, you can have like a univibe and some sort of envelope filter, and those are set up in banks. So this thing is incredible. However, probably up here with this one in terms of market acclaim and sheer ridiculous DSP sonic power. Next to that is my Eventide H9, which, uh, if you're not familiar with this pedal, it's like, man, it does just about everything. You've got reverbs, delays, choruses, flanges, synth sounds, octave effects. It's literally it does everything short of navigating satellites, as far as I'm concerned. It's absolutely nuts what this thing is capable of. So between the Strymon and my H9, I've got the ability to run 2 separate effects. So I can do like a chorus and a trem, that kind of thing, or I can get some crazy delays and echoes and shimmers out of this guy too if I want. So between the 2 of them, I've got like, I'm good. I'm real damn good for my modulation needs and effects processing power. These 2 are probably competitors, but here on my board they're friends. So moving on, just to the last 3 pedals I've got here. This one over here is the TC Electronics Alter Ego, which is sort of like the TC Electronics Flashback, but just with a couple different presets on it, and obviously different color and different name. And yeah, it's a great pedal. There's no tap tempo, but what you can do is if you hold down the button and you chug a chug on your guitar, if you chick a little bit, strum it, it'll sync it up to a time, so you can get like sort of a rhythmic chop going when you program the tempo using that just by pressing this pedal. So it's pretty damn cool. I love the echo rec effect on here, and just like all the other TC stuff, like if you got the cell phone and the app, you can beam new presets to this thing. So I've never used that because I'm happy with what it has. So that's pedal number one in my delay section. Pedal number two is the Boss DM2 Wazacraft edition. I just love this pedal. I've had it for a couple of years, and it's been one of my favorite all-around pedals for quite some time. Yeah, Paul's mentioning I got the mod covered. Yeah, I freaking hope so. But yeah, getting back to the Boss delay, I love that there's this little button here that gives you a vintage setting, so it works just like the original ones, and or you can put it to a new what is it called here? It just says S and C, or I think it's classic and custom or something like that. Anyway, it lets you set longer delay times, and I guess probably changes a few other parameters in this pedal. But man, I just love this thing for everything from sort of those shorter analog-y type delays to everything up to like a wicked slapback that you can get. And this pedal is just killer. I've used it in a bunch of recordings and different projects. So awesome. Last up here is the Earthquaker Devices Dispatch Master. Now, this pedal has reverb and delay. Now, I primarily use it for reverb because it's just a simple, straightforward reverb, and I don't get too fancy with my reverb selections. The handy thing about the delay in there is that if I need just a reverb and a delay, like a slapback, I can just set that up, or a reverb with a long delay. I get that out of this one pedal, so that's pretty handy in that regard. And I mostly just use it, as I said, for the reverb, but it just sounds killer. It's one of my favorite Earthquaker pedals. So this this pedal board is awesome. I love it. It is the kitchen sink. It does pretty much everything I want, everything from, country to jazz to hard rock metal. I probably don't get like the best, death metal sound out of it, but that's, not really a sound I use a lot anyway. But the drawback is that it's got two power supplies that, one on the top here and one mounted underneath. So I got two cables coming out the front. It's complicated, so I don't really plan on using this board for many live gigs unless there's like a stage and I'm away from people with spilly drinks, the wait staff, for example. Yeah, I because I don't I don't want people stepping or tripping on a board of that size. It's expensive as hell, and it's just huge. So so Paul's got a great question here about running the modulation through the effects loop, and the answer is yes. In a lot of when I'm at home, so this board is multifaceted. So I would use it live if there was like a stage that I could keep people away from it. In which case, I'd probably just go through the front of the amp. For recording at home, I have been using the modulations and reverbs and delays through the effects loop of my Sir Badger 35, as well as my Boogie California Tweed. I have the amp that you see behind me there, that orange that orange Custom Shop 50. Unfortunately, doesn't have an effects loop. So yeah, that in that case, I'm using this board primarily through the front. So yeah, just to recap, it's really primarily for recording certain types of gigs. I definitely take it out when I'm jamming with my buddies and we're just freestyling some just some live jazz or live fusiony type stuff that we typically play. Yeah, and Paul, you're right. Beer and Strymon definitely don't mix well. Yeah, I've only had it happen to me once where a beer kind of got spilled on part of my board. Luckily, it was a far different board back then, and it was mostly made of Boss pedals, which I think you can. I think a Boss pedal can probably take a bullet and won't blink an eye. It'll still work for you. So yeah, that board is pretty versatile. I use it for a couple different things. Now, moving on to my second board, it's so I've got like a small, medium, large. Basically, I used to have a large, two mediums, and a small. So I've kind of downsized. I've gotten rid of the one of them. So I've just got the three now. So my medium-sized board, which I just kind of finalized today, is this one here. Now, this board is primarily, actually, it's only exclusively for use at home. It doesn't leave the house, not for anything, just because it's the pedals on it are weird, are a little weird, and I'll show you why or what I mean by that. So this one doesn't quite follow the traditional signal flow that I adopt in general, but reason this is a home board, or I call it home board, kind of like if you've ever seen Game of Thrones and that character Holdor, who you literally has to hold the door. I call this home board because it's the home board, and I use it for writing and composing tracks because it's got a looper on it and a couple keyboard synth type pedals to get those sounds. So, and there goes one right now. Yeah, that was the switch for the that was just the pedal, the timing, the tap tempo for the looper. But the signal chain here starts with tuner, because I always like to be in tune, and the Boss tuner can actually power other pedals. I'm not using it for that right now, but you can if you want. From there I go into the to the Electro Harmonics Mel 9, which is simulates classic synths and like things like a mellotron and like violin type sounds, cello sounds. It's a great pedal. I've used it on a lot of different recordings. Signal then jumps down to this guy. Wait a minute. Yeah, right here. So the EHX B9. So that's an organ organ keyboard simulator. So again, I just use that for recording, for composing. It sounds great. It tracks really well too, surprisingly. It gets kind of sketchy if you're bending strings and bending notes on it, but other than that, it does track pretty well. So from there, I go into sort of a light gain stage, like a bit of an overdrive with my Wampler Euphoria. Love that pedal. It's got a toggle in the middle that lets you pick 3 different kinds of clipping. And it's a really nice, just clean, warm overdrive. Doesn't color the tone too much. From there, I go to the Proco Rat right beside it. A classic pedal. I don't care what anybody says. I think it sounds great. You just got to know how to kind of tweak it and use it. I use it for things, everything from kind of like crunchy overdrive, light overdrive, to like full on almost fuzz sounds, and it pairs really well with the Euphoria for sure. I just always like having 2 different varieties of gain. Personally, like I kind of like to go between a light gain and kind of a heavier gain, fuzz territory. That's sort of where my sensibilities lie. Now from there, from the Rat, it goes up to a pedal which I just acquired today, and that's the Boss MV200 multi. It's a modeling. It's a modeling multi effects is what we'll call it. It's similar to like the Strymon Mobius, in that it's got a whole bunch of different effects listed here. Very similar. Sorry, right over here. This knob lists all the different effects it has, like typical stuff that we've already seen, kind of like the chorus. It's got the CE1 Boss chorus in there, which is cool. It's got a flanger, a phaser, a vintage phaser, a classic vibe, some vibrato, tremolo, rotary, Ottawa, slicer, overtone, which is an octavizer type thing. I think Boss made an overtone pedal at some point back in the day. And so it basically takes all those wicked Boss circuits and just puts them in one pedal for you.
So I've only had it today, but I've spent a couple hours with it, just messing around, and I love the shit out of it. It's pretty damn cool pedals. So, um, plus it gives me that the reason I wanted it, well, a couple reasons. It's got that overtone effect on it, which I can use to like when I'm messing around coming up with tunes, and I'm too lazy to go grab my bass. I'll just turn this effect on and use get like a bass tone out of it, so that I can just put it onto a loop in the loop station here. So yeah, just as a placeholder, it works as it helps my guitar sound like a bass in a pinch if I'm feeling lazy, like I said. So really love this pedal, and it's just been a welcome addition so far today. So moving from the Boss, we go into the Fender Reflecting Pool, which is another pedal that I'm greatly enjoying. It's a super duper reverb and delay engine with DSP on it, and it's got separate controls here for reverb and delay, and a top tempo in the middle, which is super handy because I do like having tap tempo as on some of my loops and things like that. And delay is one of those effects that you can really, if you work with it, you can use it very musically. Just ask guys like Sting and or sorry, Andy. Sting would know, I'm sure, but Andy Summers and Alex Lifeson. So love this pedal. It's kind of new to the market, new, and Fender's got a series of pedals like this that do different things, and they're pretty darn cool from what I've seen and heard. So from there, the signal chain goes into this Boss looper here, and I'm just gonna put this puppy down because I like to talk with my hands. So going with the Boss looper is this foot switch here that I use to control the looper and start loops and trigger drums on it. So it's got some rudimentary drum beats built into it, kind of like a drum machine. And I'll sit around and for hours and just come up with keyboard parts or guitar parts or some fake bass parts, and just loop them, put them into the looper, and just play some ideas over them. So it's great for composition. Um, Great for practicing if I'm working on my jazz so-called chops, or the ones that I'm trying to develop. The looper is a fantastic tool, and something that I wish I had when I was like really young and learning, because you can track your own progress and play against your own progressions. So I think it's a pretty cool pedal for sure. So we've seen my big board and we've seen my medium board. That medium board is a Classic Junior, and it's powered by a uh, one spot a C12, I think, or C6. I think it's C. I can't remember. It's True Tone, one of the True Tone devices, and same with my big board. That's all powered by the True Tone devices. That's definitely a CS12 and a CS6 on my big board. Um, so yeah, so home board stays on home because it's a compositional tool, and like I don't need a looper live or keyboard pedals live necessarily. Um, However, that being said, the Boss and the Fender Reflecting Pool, as well as those two distortion pedals, the Wampler Euphoria and Proco Rat. Those two, I can get some really cool sounds out of that. So I do use that board for recording, and I have recorded a bunch of leads and stuff on some of my tracks on my album called Stringmanship, which you should buy at Bandcamp. Yeah, so see how everything kind of weaves into itself. Speaking of continuity, you're going to see some continuity in the next board that I'm going to show you. It's my smallest board. Um, I don't have a nickname for it. I think I used to call it something like Julio or something like that. But you guys will have already seen this board, which I premiered on this channel on a previous video. But this is my little guy, and for a little guy, it still packs a huge punch. It's still really powerful pedal board here. So typical to my other pedal boards, I always like to have a tuner on there. This is a Function FX Cluster Fuzz. I love, love, love this fuzz pedal. Um, it is very versatile, and I can honestly get like some hard rock, almost like dirty rat type tones out of it. It's so flexible, and when I want to get that gnarly kind of sort of glitchy 8-bit broken computer type sound, I just flip this little toggle here, and it just sounds glorious and nasty. Uh, Moving on from the cluster fuzz is the new version of the Timmy pedal, and I love the Timmy from my big board. And I was so happy to see that MXR kind of picked up and started, making them again. I think under Paul Cochran's blessing or guidance or something like that. I'm pretty sure he's still involved with it, and it's the exact same design. I honestly haven't A/B'd the big guy against the little guy, but I'm sure that there are a lot of videos out there about that. So as mentioned before, I do like having my varieties of gain stages here, and these two sound incredible when they're paired together, especially if I want like a thick, juicy lead tone, or more of a metal type hard rocking sound. I just got to get my settings right between them, and it's gold, folks. It's gold. Um, so moving next is another multi-effects, multiple modulation engine. Another one that's been very popular in the market and super well received and acclaimed, and that's the Wampler Terraform. I've got this puppy programmed up with the presets that I like. It's got a whole ton of different effects on it as well, similar to the Boss Strymon. Honestly, the H9 has got way more than all of these, but they're all extremely powerful multi effects tools as far as I'm concerned. So this Terraform is great. One thing it doesn't have that I wish it kind of had was maybe an octave effect on it. I mean, that's the one effect that I'm missing on this board. So yeah, and I don't have a compressor. So it's got to be smaller, right? I don't have room for everything. Um, but I still got enough crap on here to do some significant sonic damage for sure. And I love this board. It's small, it's portable. I use it at jams. I would use this board live. I have used this board in recording. I can cover a heck of a lot of ground on this little buddy board. And it's super flexible as well. Um, After the Wampler, again, I got another powerhouse device here in the Source Audio Collider, which is a delay and reverb with top tempo. This thing is just a beast. I love how it sounds. It's got all different kinds of reverbs and delays built into it, and you can have presets on it as well. I haven't done any presets yet for this bad boy, but it's some pedals for me. It's just easier just to kind of bend down and move the knobs. This one I might have to work on some presets for sure. So yeah, this thing is you see it on a lot of popular YouTube people's boards. So it's a lot of fun. The one annoying thing about it is like the uh, the delay tap thing. If you try and shut it off, you got to be determined about it because if you just kind of like give it a quick click, it thinks that that's a tap. And so if you don't get it right, or if you don't shut it off and you're still on a tap, suddenly your delays go from like whatever setting they were to like super slow and weird. So yeah, it's not quite a momentary switch. Maybe I just need to get the hang of it because I'm stupid or something. I don't know, but that's kind of a weird, annoying feature about this one delay. And you just have to use it right. You just have to be determined with shutting off your delay. That's about it. So lastly, on this board, I've got a Spark booster here, and that's just to basically pick up my leads and any parts that I want to put some emphasis on, any sort of you know crazy rhythm breaks or something like that. So that kind of that Spark does a great job. Um, it was a toss up between that and the EP booster. And for some dumb reason, I got rid of my EP booster versus the Spark. Um, yeah, I don't know. I was just in a rush to purge and sell stuff, so I ended up getting rid of the EP booster. Probably should have kept it. Oh well, too late. Anyway, now that covers the three main pedal boards, so they work in a variety of situations. Um, Probably the main limitation between them all is I'm a little hesitant to bring them out live. Just because pedal boards, man, I think it's all fine and dandy when you're at home and you're in your safe environment, but I'm pretty sure it's been proven by Star Trek that once you get into like a real live environment, the physics change and like chaos and hilarity can ensue. So you're gonna have physical risks levels increase. You're gonna have chaos kind of happening. You don't know what can happen when you're playing live. And pedal boards that got cables, power supplies, knobs, they're asking for it. They're asking for some crazy thing to happen to get pushed or moved or stepped on or whatever, or cables can fail, power supplies can get kicked out of the outlet, like all kinds of crazy shit can happen when you're playing live. Um, so that's why I'm a little hesitant on using some of these boards live. That is their limitation. Obviously, home board stays at home, but the other two Meshuggahs, I would like to use them live because on putting on my cork sniffer tone snob hat. I like how they sound. I like how they feel. I like how they interact with each other. That's kind of the bottom line. I get off on kind of uh, the interplay between some of the analog and digital stuff and how it works with my amp. So I'm a big fan of that. But again, there's a risk and a limitation there of getting your shit stepped on or spilled on. Um, Plus, I'm a little bit of a free cat. I'm a cheapskate. I mean, that my big board is probably worth more than my car at this point. For freak's sakes, so if something happens, it gets stolen or smashed or whatever, that would be awful. So yeah, your mileage may vary, right? Let me know in the comments, how comfortable you guys are with taking some of your gadgets out. For me, I'm kind of hesitant in some ways. However, that being said, like I mentioned before, I'm starting a cover band, and I want to get back out there playing for folks, and working this project out with my compatriots. We figured sort of the shortest putt to playing live, the shortest distance is through a cover band. So I'm very thankful and fortunate to have struck up a new project with some good friends and comrades of mine from various different projects. So more to come, more announcements to come on that. I don't want to get too crazy into the details yet, as we're still just building and getting going. But it is very very exciting, and we're going to be playing some really cool tunes. Um, Now, for that project in particular, I was a previous user of the Boss GT10 multi effects. So I was in a cover band before, a 90s cover band called the Ninos. And you might have seen us do our recent version of Hunger Strike by Temple of the Dog. When we were playing live, back when dinosaurs ruled the earth, I would use a Boss GT10 multi effects, and I would have a patch, a preset for every song, and it was great. I would have consistent tone once I got it all dialed in and worked out the balances and really tweaked the crap out of it. It was sounding great, and it was awesome because it was consistent, and it's a Boss product. So yeah, like I said, they're virtually bulletproof, and I just liked it because it was just one thing. I just plunk down on the floor, plug it in, plug my guitar, plug into the amp, boom, Bob's your uncle. Um, yeah, and Paul's here mentioning every time he takes out the Axe FX3. But yeah, those things do sound marvelous, man. They're incredible. Like I got a buddy that gigs with a Kemper, and like that thing. I mean, looks like a toaster from Star Trek or something like that. But I've they're apparently very robust, very very tough devices. Um, but anyway, getting back to what I was saying, the Boss GT10 was a great device that I used to cover a lot of ground for covers, for 90s covers especially. But it's big, it's a little bit bulky, and and things have really evolved over the 20 years since that thing came about. So my last board, the last device I want to show you guys, which I already showed you and want to talk about briefly, is this one here, and that's the Line 6 HX Effects, which I am slowly becoming stronger and stronger user of. Um, I've already programmed a bunch of patches into here for different projects, and will be programming patches into this guy for my new cover project. And I love it for a few reasons. Sounds awesome. The form factor is great. It's a very nice size, and easy to use, and you got tons of options here for stereo effects loops, all that stuff. Tons of configurability with those effects and how they're run and patched. And yeah, did I mention it? Sounds awesome. And like, I wouldn't want to see beer spilled on this, but I don't think it would be the end of the world for a device like this. So I'm really happy with this. I bought this off Guitar Hack, and I've been putting it to great use. Um, I haven't really used it for recording, to be honest. I Yeah, it does. I mean, again, maybe it's the cork sniffer in me or something like that, but it does something weird to the tone, even when I'm just running it like clean with no effects, like on bypass. Like it just does something for me that I'm not a huge fan of. And although it is versatile and I could use it for jamming, it is kind of limited in that you only have so many foot switches and positions to come up with, like, to assign a single preset to. Um, if you want to use combinations of sounds, you can, as presets, but then you got to build each one, and then you're again only limited to the number of pedals in front of you unless you start switching banks, which is not how I play guitar or use my effects when I'm just jamming with my buddies. I like just to hit on individual tones and colors, on the fly kind of thing. So anyway, with this pedal board, or sorry, with the Line 6, the HX Effects, I set it up in very similar fashion and signal chain wise as my physical boards themselves. So, if I'm programming a song, I'll probably have like a blend of gain stages and, some compression mixed in there with some reverb. I kind of pick and choose from the different effect arrays in there to kind of blend together a sound, much like I do with my physical boards. So that's maybe a little less fun navigating through menus and the interface, but you still can end up with some really really fantastic sounds and combinations using the HX effects. So I think it's pretty cool, and I really enjoy it. So, well, that being said, folks, that's kind of the end of the line as far as my pedals and effects. And I wanted to kind of follow up on some of those episodes that I of my those videos that I have on my website, or sorry, on my YouTube, in regards to new are you pedal board, and kind of how you cure your gear acquisition syndrome. And so again, I've gone on a bit of a purge here to kind of strip down, get rid of one board completely. I've sold about 10 or 12 pedals recently, and been making moves in for my guitar collection as well, to slim that down just to kind of what I really need based on practical reasons. So this episode of this live stream is hopefully where I can put my flag down again and say, hopefully my gear acquisition or change up situation is kind of settled for now. I'm not looking for any new pedals or anything like that. In fact, I've been getting rid of stuff. So um, and my guitar collection is great and better than ever, and I'm looking forward to using my pieces as this cover band gets going. So I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on how your pedal situation is going. Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? Are you someone that grabs pedals and just likes to hold on to them? I was talking with one of my friends, and he kind of keeps his board sort of open and fluid, and keeps a bunch of pedals on a shelf. And depending on what he needs, takes the same pedal board out, stacks it up, hooks it all up, and takes it out and does whatever he needs with it. So he's constantly shifting and moving and playing with stuff, but he's got a basic core arsenal going on. But then he'll add, individual pieces there, here and there for his sound and his recipe. So that's definitely one way to do it. I'd love to hear how you guys do it. Are you still using pedals at all, or are you kind of a hybrid like me where you use multi effects? Um, whatever floats your boat. Horses for courses, folks. There's definitely no right answer out there as we look for ways to get these tones out of our heads. So I want to thank everyone for watching and tuning in, especially Paul. Great to see you on the chat, and hopefully this has been a great number two episode, a great number two second episode that is, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope everyone is staying safe and doing well. This would be my last plug for the channel. Please like and subscribe. And if you do want to support the channel or support my coffee habit, if you go to Bandcamp, you can look up Dead Skull and buy my album Stringmanship. It's the complete album. It's got all 12 songs on it that were released through various channels. Um, yeah, Paul, take it easy, man. Great Friday night pedal talk. And stay tuned for more episodes in the future, folks. And I'd love to hear your feedback and any thoughts, comments, suggestions for further topics. And I'm hoping to get some more guests on my live stream in the future. Hope everyone is doing well. Take care and have a great weekend, folks.